Everywhere you look, people are talking about what they plan to do. They talk about starting a business, buying property, getting in shape, changing their lives for the better. But what about the results? Results only come from action, and action can feel lonely. Talking gives the illusion of progress without the discomfort of real growth. No one criticizes someone who's getting ready, but getting ready isn't the goal, it's a trap. Because talking has replaced taking action, and here's the question nobody wants to ask. If your words were taken away, if no one cared what you said you wanted, what would your actions reveal? Starting now, you take full responsibility for your results, good or bad. Because now you can't pretend anymore. You know what you need to do. You just haven't wanted to do it yet. Not instantly, but for good. And that's the moment finally shows up after the choice. You stop asking, is this the right time? And start asking, what happens if I don't move? There's no shortage of talk in the world. Everywhere you look, people are talking about what they plan to do. They talk about starting a business, buying property, getting in shape, changing their lives for the better. And it all sounds good. Talking feels productive, like you're making progress, but nothing actually changes because talking is safe. There's no risk in talking, no consequences, no need to feel bad or take responsibility. You can talk for years about doing something and never actually do it, and no one's going to call you out. In fact, our world rewards people who talk. Social media loves news and announcements. Podcasts spotlight people who share big ideas. Plans seem to improve the more you talk about them. But what about the results? Results only come from action, and action can feel lonely. People don't fail because they lack intelligence. They stumble because they confuse intention with execution. And they say things like, I'm working on it. I'm almost ready. I just need to wait for the right time. Those phrases sound responsible or mature, but they're not safe. They just delay action without solving anything. Talking gives the illusion of progress without the discomfort of real growth. And if we're being honest, we all have something we've talked about for too long. Something we say we want, but haven't committed to yet. Maybe it's financial freedom, like launching a business, investing, or becoming the person you keep promising yourself you'll be someday. You already have the knowledge and resources. You have the potential. But you don't have any pressure to execute. Now here's the hard truth. Most people aren't stuck. They're just comfortable explaining why they haven't started. They hide behind planning. They use learning as a shield. They say they need one more thing before they can begin. And it sounds reasonable. No one criticizes someone who's getting ready. But getting ready isn't the goal. It's a trap. Planning won't change your life. Execution will. And here's the painful part. Talking feels like progress because it provides relief. The moment you declare your intentions, I'm going to do this, I'm working on it, I have plans, your brain relaxes. But comfort is the enemy of growth. That relief lets you stop before you've truly started. That's why people stay the same for years. They tell the same stories, repeat the same ambitions, and nothing changes. Another year, same life. Because talking has replaced taking action, and here's the question nobody wants to ask. If your words were taken away, if no one cared what you said you wanted, what would your actions reveal? Life doesn't reward potential, it rewards action. Your calendar tells the truth. Habits are honest, your results are the proof. Not your reasons or your plans. This is where changes begin. Because eventually, talking stops working. The excuses fall apart and the gap between what you say and what you do grows too wide. And at some point, something inside of you says, I can't keep saying this if I'm not going to actually do it. And that's the moment when your real story starts. Tonight isn't about gathering more ideas or hyping yourself up or convincing others. It's about revealing the truth. Because once you see the gap between talking and being, you can't unsee it. And when you see it, you have a choice. You can keep talking, or right now, you can decide to be about it. Now, there's plenty of talk everywhere, but what about action? Everything changes when you act. There comes a point when talking stops helping It doesn't happen all at once. It kind of sneaks up on you. At first, talking feels useful. You're planning, learning, getting ready, but then something shifts. The same conversations start to feel hollow, and those plans lose their excitement, and the reasons don't comfort you anymore, but you can't quite explain why. It's when putting an effort without real action starts to feel dishonest. You're still saying the right things, but deep down you know you're not moving forward, and that gap between your words and reality starts pressing on you more than fear ever could. Some people face this in their finances. Bills are piling up, choices are narrowing. Others feel it emotionally, tired of repeating the same year. Some sense it quietly, a thought they can't shake. This can't be it. Here's the truth no one wants to face. Waiting costs more than doing. It drains your confidence, eats your time, and in the end, costs you your identity. Now, most people make a critical mistake here. They think discomfort is dangerous. They feel the tension rising, and instead of leaning in, they retreat. More plans, research, another excuse to wait. But that's not preparation anymore. That's avoidance dressed as responsibility. There's a difference between not being ready and not wanting to be uncomfortable. Everything shifts when you finally see that. It's the night you check your calendar and realize it doesn't match your goal. It's when you hear your own story and stop believing. It's the quiet realization that you don't need motivation, you need commitment. That's where the inner conflict begins. Parts of you want safety, routines, predictable outcomes. Parts of you want more, growth, change. Those sides can't coexist. Sooner or later, one must win. That's when the real story turns. Some people shrink their dreams to fit their comfort and they call it peace. But others, they hit a line they refuse to cross. They realize, I'm not confused. I'm just avoiding responsibility for the next step. That truth stings because now you can't pretend anymore. You know what you need to do. You just haven't wanted to do it yet. This is where everything starts. It's not a dramatic breakthrough. It's a moment of clarity. A time when excuses sound empty, when words lose their power. But this doesn't guarantee change. It just gives you a choice. You can still walk away, delay, or say not yet. But once you see the truth, once you feel that pressure, talking will never be the same because deep down you'll know you can do more. The only thing standing between you and where you want to be is what you're avoiding. This is when people stop asking, is now the right time? And start asking, what happens if I don't move? When the cost of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of change, that's when the real work begins. No one talks about this part. What happens after you commit to action? Because once you start executing, the world doesn't hand you anything. It starts pushing back. The work becomes repetitive, lonely, no applause, no instant validation, just resistance. And this is where most people falter. They expected momentum, and instead they hear silence. They wanted clarity, and instead they get confusion. They thought validation would come, but it doesn't. And they wonder what's wrong. But nothing is wrong. This is the cost of commitment. Now let's get specific. At first, brokers ignore you. No replies, voicemail, unanswered messages, and it starts to get to you. You start questioning yourself. Am I saying the wrong thing? Do I sound credible? Maybe I'm not ready. And here's the truth. They're filtering. They've heard 100 people say I'm serious or I'm ready and I'm looking now, and watch most of them walk away when things got hard. So brokers use the only filter that works: time and consistency. The test is silence. The price of admission is being ignored. They're not judging your confidence. They're watching your follow through. Do you follow up? Stay professional without reward. Return when it's easier to quit. Because most don't. And that's why it works. Brokers aren't impressed by hype. You earn their trust by being consistent, patient, and reliable. Same follow-up, same professionalism, and gradually, quietly, things change. People know your name. Your emails get answered. your calls get returned. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned trust. Now let's talk about tough deals. Some deals don't just reject you, they push back. Numbers don't add up. Terms change. Funding falls through. Surprise problems surface. This is where people quit. Not because the deal is impossible, but because it's not easy. People start negotiating with themselves. Maybe this isn't the one. I should wait for something easier. Maybe now isn't the time. And let me be clear. Just because it's hard doesn't mean you should stop. It means it's time to grow. Easy deals don't make you better or stronger. Hard deals, they shape you. They force you to dig deeper and ask better questions and sharpen your skills, and they expose your blind spots. That discomfort is the reason most people walk away. This is where transformation happens. Execution becomes second nature. You stop asking, am I ready? And start asking, what's next? You stop waiting for trust and start building it. You stop talking and start protecting your focus. There's no applause here. You're not winning. You're not losing. You're simply working. And that space in between, that's where most people disappear because it doesn't look brave and it's not flashy, but it works. This is the true test. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Will you? Follow up when ignored. Work the messy deal. Stay the course when quitting would be easier. Being about it doesn't feel powerful. It feels heavy and uncertain and lonely. But this is where separation happens. Because people don't fail here because they can't. They fail because they think resistance means rejection, but resistance is just proof you're doing something real. If you stay, if you keep working without a payoff, you don't just get closer to your goal. You become someone who can hold that goal. And that's when everything shifts. Now everything comes to a head, not outwardly, but inside. You've been moving forward, staying in the game. But this is where the resistance peaks. Brokers still ignore you. The deal is still messy. The numbers don't add up. For the first time, giving up seems logical. You've worked hard enough to justify quitting. This is the most dangerous moment. This is when failure masquerades as wisdom. This is when you bargain with yourself. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe I should wait. Maybe I just need to learn more. Those thoughts sound responsible, but they're not true. They just feel safe. No one is stopping you, not the market, not the broker, not the deal, only you. And that's the hard truth because you finally see it was never about luck. It was always about ownership. This is when you either step up or quietly step back. You stop asking, is this the right time? And start asking, what happens if I don't move? When the cost of staying the same outweighs the fear of change, that's when you decide, quietly and internally, I'm done waiting. I'm done bargaining with myself. That's where the conversation ends. From here, stop trying to feel ready. Act before you feel sure. Move without guarantees. Move forward even if it might not work. This is where identity becomes real. You're no longer someone who's learning or thinking about it. You become someone who does. Someone who keeps going when things get tough. This isn't motivation. It's determination. Motivation fades. Resolve stays. Resolve doesn't need permission, applause, or perfect condition. Resolve just acts. Now, people never hear this. No one's going to come to save you. No one will announce you're ready. No one will hand you momentum. You create momentum through action. Starting now, you take full responsibility for your results, good or bad, win or lose. You stop blaming the market, the timing, and other people because ownership brings clarity, and that clarity is power. Now, this is where don't just talk about it, be about it becomes your standard. From now on, you follow up even when it's hard. You work the messy deal. You stay even when leaving would be easier. Not because you know you'll win, because it's who you are now. Once you make that choice, once you stop negotiating with yourself, everything changes. Not instantly, but for good. And that's the moment that momentum finally shows up. After the choice, after full commitment, there are no fireworks, no big breakthrough, no instant reward. It's almost anticlimactic. You expected a big moment, and instead, you get normal. But something's different. You don't have to force yourself anymore. You just do the work. And quietly, momentum builds. It's not dramatic, but you feel it. You notice you're moving faster. Making decisions is easier. Following up is normal and the work feels familiar. But you're no longer guessing. You're working. And that's when things change on the outside. When the world responds, the broker who ignored you calls you back. No excitement, no praise, just business. Hey, I've got something you might want to see. The impossible deals start to make sense. Not because it got easier, but because you got better. And people call it luck. They don't see the reps or the discipline or the months of invisible work. They only see the results. And they say things like, that went by fast. You timed it perfectly, or you're so lucky. It wasn't luck. It was consistency. This is the real transformation. You stop chasing confidence because you have proof. You stop wondering if you belong because you earned your place. Validation isn't needed. Your work speaks for itself. Doubt loses its power, not because fear is gone, but because fear can't decide anymore. You've proven it to yourself, and that proof lasts. What once felt like hard work now feels like who you are. You don't need motivation. You live by your standard. Now, people start to notice. Not your process, your results. They ask, how did you keep going? When did it all click and what changed? They didn't see the ignored emails or the messy deals or the night you almost gave up. They only see the finish line. And here's the truth. You don't explain anymore. Those negotiating with themselves need explanations. You just nod and you keep going. This part is steady and controlled and confident. You're not rushing. You're not forcing. You're trusting yourself and your process and your discipline. And that's real victory. Not the deal, not the money, and definitely not the praise. It's the trust you've built with yourself. Because when you believe in yourself, things accelerate. And this is what happens when you stop talking and start being. Not instantly, not magically, but permanently. Now only one choice remains. And this is where the story ends. Not with fireworks, not with applause, with honesty. By now, you know where you stand. You know the difference between talking and doing. You know how it feels to talk about your plans and how it feels to act without permission. And here's the truth. Nothing special happens next. No countdown, perfect moment, or outside signal. There never is. People leave rooms like this inspired. They agree. They're fired up. But tomorrow, the talking starts again. Same goals, same excuses, same calendar, just a different day. It's not laziness. It's just that inspiration fades, but standards don't. This was never about making people take action. It was about who you choose to be when no one's watching. Claims don't count. Intentions don't add up. Action do. Life rewards what you do, not what you want. Your future is built by what you repeat, not by what you hope for. And here's the line most won't cross. If your life hasn't changed, your actions haven't either. Not your circumstances, not your timing, your actions. Now that's not a criticism, it's strength. Because it means you don't need to look outside of yourself for the answer, you already have it. There are only two paths from here. You either keep explaining or start executing. You can keep making deals with yourself or raise your standard. Being about it doesn't guarantee you'll win every time, but it means you'll show up every time. When it's not fun, It's not comfortable. It's not easy. Especially then, that's where